Hello, Erin from Morehouse Farm here with a quick video on binding off. If you're watching this, it means you've probably come to the end of your project and you're ready to finish it up. That's awesome! Way to stick with it. And I'm going to show you a very simple technique here so that you can have a neat edge that matches the cast on and make sure that your project won't unravel. When you're binding off, you're always going to be working with 2 stitches at a time, and it'll tell you often in the pattern to bind off in pattern. So ours is knitting every row when we're working in garter stitch. So I'm going to knit a stitch, knit the second stitch, and then I'm going to pass the first one over the second one. And the first stitch is always the one on the right, the first one that I knit. And that's number 1. Now I'm going to knit the second stitch onto my needle, which is really the third one, right? Because we bound off the first one. Here's our second one. That's our third one. And pass the first stitch over the second of the 2 that were on my needle. And keep on going so that I'm only ever working with 2 stitches at a time. And I'm going to keep on going for the rest of the row. For those of you who choose to knit in the continental style, you just got the yarn in your other hand. So you're going to knit the stitch, pass the first one over the second, knit the stitch, pass the first one over the second, and so forth. Again, only ever working with 2 stitches in this bind off method until you get to the very last one. Oops, lose a stitch there. So we knit this stitch, and then we pull the first stitch over the second, or pass it over rather, and we've got 1 stitch left, so all we do here is pull the yarn through that last stitch and snug it up. That's how we bind off. And if you've done it right, meaning pay attention to your gauge along the way, the stretchiness here will match the stretchiness here, so you'll be able to have a very symmetrical garment, whether it's a scarf, whether it's a mitten, you name it. But that's how you bind off, and it creates this neat row of V's, right, to match up with the neat row down here. Happy knitting from Morehouse Farm.